Caroline, and I'm going to be giving you a review of Logic of English Foundations B level. So I've already done a review on Foundations A, which is the first level that they have, and you can check that out. I'll put the link below. But Foundations is A through D, and it is for ages 4 to 7, and each book seems to have 40 lessons in it. So we have been doing this for maybe, Foundation B has been for like 5 months, 4 or 5 months, something like that. We don't do a lesson a day, so, and we also took some vacations in there. But so far we really like it, and I'm going to tell you about what comes in the set and what we're using for our English while I'm homeschooling her. Now my daughter is 5 years old, and we started with Foundations A. You don't have to start with Foundations A. You can start with B if your child has basic knowledge of the sounds of the alphabet. And so that's what they say it inside the book. So let's see what you get in the set. First of all, you get the teacher's manual, and you get a manuscript workbook. Unless you want to do it in cursive, you can also do it in cursive. And you get the books. And then we also got the readers. Okay, so starting with the teacher manual. This is really, if you've seen my video for Foundation A, it's really important to have the teacher's manual. Not only does it have for each lesson materials needed, it has the different stuff that's happening: handwriting, spelling analysis, comprehension, fluency, systematic phonograms. It also tells you exactly what to do and say. So for example, down here it'll say, show the phonogram card, and then that's in bold because that's what you do, and then under it it'll tell you exactly what to say to the child. So this says what does it say? Write 3 times on your whiteboard. So like this is throughout the whole book, so you know exactly what to say. And this was useful because I felt like teaching English was a little bit overwhelming for me, because it was not my favorite subject. In fact, it was probably my worst subject in school. So the teacher manual has got, as I said, 40 lessons. And after every 5, there's an assessment. And the kids don't know they're doing an assessment. Here's like a look at their table of contents. So here you'll see assessment A, and then there'll be different assessments here. Assessment B, assessment C, and it just kind of tells you what's going on in each lesson. But what is the assessment? Well, for example, let's look at assessment B. There'll be just little exercises you do with your students, so short and long vowels, and it'll coordinate with the workbook. Handwriting, there'll be a handwriting sheet. And then there's always like tips, multi-sensory fun, like if the student's not ready to write on paper, show the phonogram card and have them write it on a whiteboard or in a sensory box. Because at 4 years old or 5 years old, they might not be ready for holding a pencil and writing properly. So they've got tips like that. And then there might be something like, what's that phonogram? And there will be a challenge box. So if your kids are doing really well in that particular subject, you might want to try challenging them. Comprehension and fluency, there'll be like a reading page in the workbook, or short vowel sounds. So these are all things that would be either in the book, or you'd show them what it is. And for example, at the end, if the student is struggling in one of the assessment criteria, they have practice ideas. So for handwriting, some ideas, phonograms, some ideas, high frequency words, like just stuff that you can practice on for another day until you feel like they're really doing well. Oh, and if you look at the beginning of the assessment page, this is really cool because it'll basically show you what skills that they should know before you move on. So for example, anything that mastery 1, that means they should have it mastered before you move on. And 2 is they should have general knowledge of it, but not necessarily have mastered it to move on, because then it'll be covered later as well with more practice. So that way you know what you really need to focus on, and you can slow down, which is the nice thing about homeschooling. If you feel like a kid's struggling at something, you just take a couple days and practice it, right? Let's see. What's the difference between Foundation B and A? So we're doing spelling now, and I feel like a lot of people complain about Logic of English because they say it's complicated. There are spelling rules, too many rules, like English words don't end in I, U, V, or J. Okay? And then the kids expected to learn this. So this is complicated because there's so many of them, right? Sometimes you double L's and S's. There's a whole bunch of rules. Anyways, but here's the thing. It's not for reading. I think it's for spelling. So one of the memories that I'll have, which shocked me the most, was one time we were doing a spelling exercise where she had to write down, I'd give her 5 words she'd have to spell. So, and one of them was have. And there was a rule before that said if there's a silent E, then you get the long sound. So it should have been have, right? You get the long A sound. But then she wrote it down properly. She wrote down H-A-V-E. And I thought that was going to trick you, you know? And she said, oh, but do you know why there's a silent E, Mom? It's because English words don't end in a V. And that just blew my mind. So I definitely was horrible at spelling. I feel that this is reinforcing her ability to spell properly. Yes, and at 5 years old, I'm pretty impressed that she can do that. So, also, let me show you the high frequency words that are in Foundation B. Look at all these words that they will be learning. How to read, but how to read phonetically as well. It's not just they're memorizing these. By the end, she's learning all of these sounds. And we did 75 today, so all of these, like the ow sounds, you know, the grass and gave and all these things she's learning as a 5-year-old. That's pretty crazy. So we were pretty impressed with her ability to read. Now, going with that, let me show you the workbook. So, if we start in the beginning, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff in this workbook. I mean, it would be impossible to show you all. The variety is just crazy. There's bingo, there's syllables and pictures where you gotta match. There's matching, you know, manuscript to books, and if you bought the cursive workbook, you'd be matching cursive to book words, letters. There's handwriting, there's reading. So this is the beginning of B. Let me just show you. The beginning of B, she's already able to read these and match. And if you saw my video in A, she was reading some pretty complicated books at the end of A for a 4-year-old. So you start off being able to read these short vowel sounds and the basic sounds for all the letters. There's bingo, there's tic-tac-toe. I mean, like things where you fill in missing letters. Games where there might be words that you had to cut out and then read the word and then you get to move your boat or your little piece somewhere. Let's see, so handwriting, oh here, matching words with pictures, you know, just, even though I felt like Foundation A was a lot more active, it's kind of like a transition. There is still a lot of activity. Foundation, I feel like Logic of English is very good in that there's a lot of active learning where she's jumping or racing or doing something like that, which makes it fun. But look at this, we're at lesson 64, which is about halfway through, and she's able to read the sentences and match the pictures. And things like rhyming, they go over rhyming. And like this the other day, she read all this and put pictures of sheep doing these in order, which blew my mind. And so yeah, at the end of it, we haven't got there, but be able to read and match pictures. There's a lot of reading and matching pictures. And let's see. There's find it games where you might have to cut it out and find it, or hide words in the room, and they have to be detectives and figure out what's the same in those words. So yes, it's a lot of fun for her. Now moving on to the books. Not every lesson is going to have you read one of these books. Why are these books special? Because if you go to the library and you try and get a book for your kid to read along with this and you don't have the books, there's going to be way too many sight words or words that are just way too complicated that they would have to memorize. And the whole point of Logic of English is they're supposed to be logical. They're supposed to be able to sound it out, figure it out while they're reading. Kind of like be detectives, figure out what the word is. And they're putting words in there like impossible or watermelon. I mean, what kind of 4-year-old is going to be able to spell that out? It's just not logical. Most of the words might be fine, but there's going to be a few in there that are going to be frustrating. Now these books, these bite for each level. So each time they read this book. So if it says in the teacher manual, they're going to read this book. They've learned how to read and pronounce and figure out every single sound. So it's encouraging. It's fun. They can pick up this book and read it. It comes with, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16 books. 16 books and different things. Like this has the A's and oi and here, 3-letter I. Colin is bike. And you know, these are actually, they're pretty interesting books. There's, I mean, this book she read a couple weeks ago, and if you look at the book, it is a lot of words, a lot of sentences. We had to put a paper, sticky notes, or something to cover lines so that she wouldn't be saying, oh my gosh, this is too many words, because she can read every single word. She could sound it out. She knows the sounds. But it is overwhelming for a 5-year-old to have to see all those words together. So we'd put like a card or something and have it go down. And then she was perfectly fine. But, I mean, she's reading this. Now here's just a little cliff note about books. Yes, they are great. Yes, they're 100% necessary. 100%. That being said, I do not recommend you doing a lesson every day unless your kid is super great at reading and excelling and not whining or having any drama about any of it and just wants to do it. Because eventually you're going to get to some really complicated sounds and it's going to be a little overwhelming, frustrating for the kid to keep learning new sounds, getting new books. And I think it's better if you feel like they're struggling to just take a couple of days, practice those sounds, do a few of the games. Like you'll see Lily doing some of the games, like the fox game where she's reading sight words or reading common words. Different things like practicing sounds. Just take a few days to relax, which is another thing that's nice, that every single lesson does not have reading a book in it. It might be every other. There might be one time where the teacher reads it out loud and then you read about the biography or the, you know, they've got like the illustrator's little thing in the back, if I can find one. Okay. So maybe you'll read about the author, the illustrator, or maybe have them reenact the book. You know, just to make it fun. That is what we do. If I ever feel like she's gotten overwhelmed because a book has too many pages and too many words, we'll take a little break, have her read some of the books that have a lot fewer words to build up her confidence. Now, those are the things that we got specific for Foundation B. What are we using though? So in Foundation A, you'll see in my video, I did not buy this. I didn't buy the whiteboard. And honestly, this is just so cool. It's double-sided. And you've got the middle line, you got the base line, the middle line, the top line. When you see my girl doing her handwriting, you will see that she's all over the place. She does not consider the lines as much as she should, and will probably take 2 or 3 weeks to just work on her handwriting, because sometimes she even writes her letters backwards. But that being said, this is really cool. It's there. Yes, you can make your own, but it's sturdy. I can literally write with a wet erase marker and just wash it in the sink and it's all gone. So it's sturdy. It's not like you can't scan something like this and put it on a piece of paper, but I like how strong it is. It's not going to get bent or worn. So I got it and I'm happy that I got it. You don't have to get it. Again, you can just print your own. Something else we use a lot are these sound basic phonograms cards, okay? And we got these in Foundation A, and we have every single sound that you will probably need for the entire A, B, C, D. Like I think we've used more than half of them. These are all the sounds she knows right now. So that's a lot of sounds. Probably it was maybe this much for Foundations A, like the short vowel sounds and all the basic like ABCs all the way up to Z. Now in Foundation B, we went a lot more complicated, so you've got like 3-letter ch and ow, o. And for those of you saying, how do you know that's ow, o? Oh, look at the back. Look at this nifty thing for teachers and parents to make you remember what the sounds are. Now I've memorized almost all of them, but some of them are a little rough, like oh, ooh, ow, uff, off. Yeah, so this is a little bit rough for Lily, I have to tell you. And sometimes she'll just take the card when she's reading a book and she'll go through systematically and put in the ow sound, and then, or put in the ah sound, then the o, then the oo, then ow, uff, and off, to see if that makes the word make sense. It's a little daunting. It's 6 sounds. There's only the OU has 5 sounds, and then, you know, most of them have either 2 or 3 sounds or 1 sound. So wuh. This one was a pain in the butt. U, oo, This is one that is in Foundations A. The letter U has 4 sounds. So again, people say it's really complicated, but in the end, when she's reading a word, and for example, watch, if you're going to use the short A sound, it's going to be watch, and then she's going to go through and say a. So is it wait? No, it's watch. So she's got all the sounds to quickly, you know, go through in her head and figure out the word. So these were completely necessary. We jump on them. We play obstacle courses. You'll see I took a video of her doing that. I'll actually have her, I'll tell her a sound. She'll have to write it on her board, run and find it in the pile and go back. And then make sure that it matches and that it's right. So these get used almost every lesson. Something else we got were the game tiles. So these don't get used as often, and I'm sure I could take a few days and just play with them. The nice thing that I found for, at least for Foundations A, kids are very tactile. They like to touch things. Again, it has more sounds than we need for Foundations A and B. So I separate the stuff that we have not learned yet from the stuff that we have. So when she's playing with them, she knows all the sounds. And you can do all sorts of stuff like matching, where you flip them over, and then she's got to match them together, or go fish, or you can make words with it. And they're very sturdy. And some people get 2 sets and mix them together. We only got 1 set. Again, we don't use it so much, but it has a lot of potential for when she starts making words, she makes stories, she can put them together. I think if you were just going to let her play around with some words, I think this would be lots of fun. And that's pretty much what we use in our English curriculum. The workbook is really comprehensive, it's really great, along with the teacher manual, and they correlate. So I think I'll just show you guys just one lesson I'll turn to randomly, so you can kind of see what's involved in the Foundations B. Okay, so we've got lesson 50. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out a random lesson and just show you how the whole thing works. Let's say you're just going to do a lesson with your kid. This is lesson 52. And it tells you, there's like a short summary of the lesson right here, including what you're doing. So systematic phonics, handwriting, spelling, comprehension, fluency, grammar, and then the materials you'll need. So I like the day before to get all the materials that I need ahead of time in a box, along with all the other different school stuff we're doing, so it's all ready. So let's start off with this. So systematic phonics. So they'll say the phonogram blah. So you'll need to have that actual phonogram available, and then you'll be teaching that and telling them how to say the sound, and they have to write on their board. And then, oh, I almost forgot. The other thing that we got was the Whistling Whales book. Yeah, so the only thing is that this is not something that I think, like, at least my 5-year-old could not do every day. A lesson every day she could not do. A 7-year-old, probably. My 5-year-old does not like to do this kind of heavy English every day, otherwise she'd start hating English. So what we do in between is we might do some of the games that Logic of English has, or we might do some Bob books exercises. Like, you know, it'll be a Bob book workbook, and I'll do a review of that later, where, you know, it's just a lot simpler book, just reinforcing reading and sight words, and like just reading things that are very simple, where it has one sentence on each page instead of like 4. You know, sometimes if I read something with her like this every day, I mean, I'm always surprised when she reads this book. Like, there's something about Logic of English where they know, like, how to push a kid to go to the next level. You know what I mean? Lily could definitely read, you know, a Bob book every day, several of them every day. She'll just pick one and read in the corner. And that's something she couldn't have done without Logic of English, teaching her, you know, the confidence that she can read these big books. So yeah, these books with one sentence, no big deal. Because I can tell you, before we did Logic of English, she was able to read, you know, 3-letter words. I had flashcards with her. So she could do Bob books, but it was just way too overwhelming. So they kind of pushed at the right pace, but they do recommend that you take it at your kid's pace. So you might need to take a few breaks, maybe do it twice a week, and put in some fun books that are a little bit less intense, or put in some games, like just spend like your section of English, whatever you're doing for that day, playing English games, you know, things she's not really thinking is learning, but yes, it is.
Hi kids, today we're going to learn how to do the fox game.
Shall we dance? Pig.
Pig. I got trap cards.
Okay, good. You get to keep the fox from taking your cards. Use.
Let's forget the left chair.
Sit in your chair, please.
Oh. Farm.
Very good. Buy.
Have some of those nuts.
Sure.
Those are my favorite. Right.
Very good. Fin. Bought. Trap card.
So we both got
We
one.
got trap cards. Yep. So no fox is getting our cards.
For one time. Much. There's much more things more important than winning.
4. That means I get to draw 4 cards. Okay. Put back 2 cards. Uh-oh. So that's 1. A clock.
Oh, yes, you got the clock.
Alright, I have 10 seconds. Let me see how many I can read.
Okay,
Okay.
1.
I got a fox. Well, he takes my trap card. Okay.
2.
B.
3.
Boy.
4. 5.
Fire.
6.
Okay, I think you're counting slow. That was 10 seconds.
Oh.
Okay, your turn. For stuff. Are you ready? I'm going to put the timer again.
We can do 5 more times, right?
I think so. Ready, set, go. Oh, wait, at the end of the word.
Wait, at the middle of the word.
At the end.
At the middle of the word.
Shh. A in the middle of the word.
In the middle of the word.
A at the end of the word. Qua.
Quack like a duck.
What? You just wrote up.
Oh, so it goes at the end?
You silly. Qua.
Where does it go? Oh, so it goes first?
Mm-hmm. Okay. K. 2-letter K.
Two like.
Oh, I forgot to put the timer on. Just put that. That's the last one. K. And count.
Ow, oh,
Okay, good.
Ow, oh. A.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love this one. Oh, ooh. Ow, off.
That's a big one. Okay.
I.
Mm-hmm.
Oi. I. A. Qua.
Mm-hmm.
I-E.
Very good. You do it.
It's called Gwen gives a gift. She puts her nose on the card to push so she can pull her hand off yikes. Her nose is stuck.
So, this is my review. We like it, and we're about to finish, and then we're going to get Foundation C. So when we're halfway through Foundation C, or maybe towards the end, I'll do another review and see how it's going. But so far, we're liking it a lot. Yeah, so I hope this gave you all the information you need to know about Logic of English Foundations B. And again, if you want to know about Foundations A, you can see my other video. I posted it below.